Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So good afternoon, everyone. Before we start our lesson today, I'd like to remind of the previous lesson. This one, you push turn down the volume a little for a little. Yeah. So last week lesson we have the topic view your own future. We talk about four kind of persons from darkness to darkness, from darkness to light, from light to darkness, and from light to light. And the Buddha always encourages us to be the person from light to light is the best. Mean from a good foundation and to become a good person, a wholesome person. If not, then at least from darkness to light. We come from a poor family. We come from we have not so high foundation, but we change our life to make our life be better from this life and to another life. So that is last week's lesson. So today's lesson is the. Before I start, I would like to tell you a story, funny story. We have those kids in our temple those days, and they play with each other, they fighting sometimes. And one of them said that he hits me, so I want to hit him back. And then I asked him, is it a wholesome one? He said, I tried to help him to go to the hospital. Sounds funny, right? But actually, these things can happen for us too. Sometimes we in our life we do something. It's not right, but we fool ourselves and we think that is the right one, is a wholesome one. But come out the result is not what we think. So that's why I have today's topic: act with caution. So be careful what you do. So in the Majjhima Nikaya, the Middle and Discourse of the Buddha, there are a king called Asenajik. He asked Venerable Ananda, so what kind of bodily speech and the mind behavior is reproached by the wise recluse and Brahmin? Because sometimes we don't know, there's so many actions we do, we don't know this is right or this is wrong. So what we know, we need to know what is right, what is wrong. So this is the definition. So first, start any bodily behavior start with unwholesome one. The unwholesome one means unskillful one, inexpert, unclever. So what kind of bodily behavior is unwholesome? It is faulty. It has a defect. And what kind of behavior is faulty? It brings affliction, brings suffering. So whatever kind of action you do, whether it's bodily or mentally or by speech, it brings affliction, suffering. So that can be considered as unwholesome. That can be considered as the reproach by the wise Brahmin, wise person. So what kind of behavior that brings affliction? So that kind of behavior will have the painful results. There's a consequence after the action. Why you do that action? You hurt yourself, and then after that, it have the results follow you. And what kind of unwholesome that behavior has the painful results? The behavior that leads one to our own affliction, our own suffering, to all the suffering. to both suffering, and on account of which the unwholesome state increased and the wholesome state diminished. So that is the all of kind of behavior that reproached by the wise recluse and Brahmin. So from this sutta, in brief, we know that what kind of behavior, what is called unwholesome, what is faulty, what is brings suffering, have the result of suffering, that is bring suffering to us, bring suffering to other person, bring suffering to both of us, increase the unwholesome state of mind and decrease the wholesome state of mind. So that kind of action is a not good one. So be careful when we do such action. We should ask ourselves before we do something like that. So in detail, there's another sutta, in another Majjhima Nikaya sutta, the Middle Land Discourse, we go in detail. The Buddha gave us 10 kind of action that can be considered as unwholesome one. There's once in a class I explained to you, but in brief. So today we go in detail, more detail. So there are 3 actions concern the body. The other 4 concern speech, and the last 3 concern the thinking, the thought. Okay. So let's talk about the first one. So someone who kills living beings. So everybody knows about that. But beside that, there's several more. Who is fierce, who is cruel, bloody-handed. Bloody-handed means the person who kills other person and the blood smear their hand. And they devoted to hitting and killing. Not only killing, but hitting another beings also can be considered as unwholesome one, hurting others. And that person is merciless, no compassion, heartless to any living beings. That's considered as the first one, bodily action. But in brief, we say it's a killing, but not only killing, also eating other person. Yeah. So in the story, those kids doing like that can be considered as unwholesome one, eating each other, even it's not killing yet. Okay, so the second one, take what is not given. So they take others' wealth and property, the requisites or the things that help others enjoy their life. In the village or in the forest. In the village means like in the city nowadays, the things that the properties, the place in their house or place in the many people area in the city, in the village, and even in the forest. Like you take without permission, and you take by way of theft, mean you do with intention to take without order permission. So that is considered as taking what is not given. Even with others knowing or not, it can be considered as taking what is not given. And it can be considered as another unwholesome one. The third one is sexual misconduct. The third precept for Buddhist devotee. So he has the immoral sexual relation with woman or man, protected by their mother. So then, by protected by their mother, in the case like the father disappear or die, so the mother who is take care of that kid, that lady or that young man, who support food and clothing for that person, and mother guard her or him, thinking that I will send them to a good family when they come to an old age and when they're adult. So that is called protected by mother. Or they can be protected by father, by both father, mother, by parents, by brother, by sister, by relative, by their lineage, or protected by law, or protected by holder. So protect by holder in the case that sometimes they not officially get married. The family come together, get an agreement that okay, he's my son and this is your daughter. So let them, because they have a relationship before, like they're gonna have pregnancy sometimes, and they have an agreement with each other that okay, let them go together. So that can be considered as who have holder too, and anyone who have the immoral sexual relation with that person have the holder, that have the one who promised, that have the one belong to, also considered as a misconduct in sexual pleasure. Even one with who are garlands. So in the ancient time, when they don't have ring to give, but they have garland. So one man put garland on the other lady and tell that this is will be my wife. So can be understood in a way that fiance nowadays. So if the person who have the immoral sexual relation with the one protected by their mother, by father, by parents, by brother, sister, by their relative, by lineage, by one who are fiance, so that can be considered as the sexual misconduct. That is the three kind of action concerned in the body and wholesome action. To talk about the fourth one, lying, who speak false speech. So when a person who brought to a meeting or to assembly among the relative, among the guide, among the royal family, and that person is questioned as a witness. So when he's brought to in front of many party like that, they asked him, okay, hey man, you whatever you know, you should talk about that. But he knowing, but he say, I don't know. He not knowing, he say, I know, in the opposite way. And he see it, but he said, I don't see it. When he doesn't see it, he said, I see it. So in the opposite way. So he speak falsehood for his own reason or for another reason. For his own reason, because like someone forced him to do that. Like if you don't tell lie like that, I will cut your leg or cut your hand or torture you. Then he have to speak like that. But it can be considered as the false speech. False speech. And for others, to protect others, and for some for some gains for himself and for others too, even just for a little things, just to gain a little thing, but it can be considered as speaking false speech. So that is the fourth one. The fifth one, who speak divisive speech. So he hear from this place, so he come to another place to talk about that. He heard from another place and to come back to this place and talk about that story. In his mind, keep thinking that I want them to be divided, to split them. I don't want them to be united at all. So that's called divisive speech. And he is the person who doesn't like the united, doesn't like everyone united together harmoniously, but want to divide them. And he enjoy in dividing people, enjoy discord, and feel delight when seeing people split separately and unharmoniously. And he always the person who speak the word that create discord, you create an unharmonious among people. So that is called person who speak divisive speech. The sixth one who speak harsh speech. So he used such words as insolence. So in the commentaries, you assimilate the obstinate knots of the tree. It grow on the unhealthy tree. So the insolent speech arises from insults by people. So the harsh speech is the rough one. It's like a Buddha tree. It trickle the powder. Buddha tree is unhealthy one. It's gonna die. It's trickle the powder, and it's something like that. The heart speed, it comes to the ear, like it's rubbing the ear. It's not smooth at all. Hurt other people like that way, and it's like cleaving to others, like a stick with thorn strike. Like a hook, like a hook. The stick with a hook and beat on other people on the vital spot of the body. So the harsh speech can hurt other people in that way. It's really hurt. And when it hit other people, it not only hurt because of the hook, but it also stick with them. You know, you feel that harsh speech. Sometimes you cannot forget the word they say. It bordering to anger is close to the anger. With the support of anger, the person can speak such kind of speech. So, and it unconducive to concentration. The person who often speak harsh speech is hinder them from concentration, especially the access concentration and the attainment concentration. Really bad for meditation. It prevent them to get higher level in meditation. So that is the sixth one about the harsh speech. On the seventh one, the one who talk unworthy speech. Unworthy speech. He speak at the wrong time. This time he should be speak about this one, but he didn't. He talked about another one. Speak what is not fact. There is nothing happen like that. But he just talk about it. He doesn't care. Speak what is useless, not based on action, just for speaking only, for fun. Or speak contrary to the Dharma, means the interest nature of thing is like that, but he doesn't speak according to the true nature of thing, but he speak against that. He speak against the discipline. The discipline here means not correct, not connect with the restraint discipline, not restrain the unwholesome one, and increase the unwholesome one. And he speaks such word worthless, and whatever he speak just fly out, go away, and nothing can keep in our mind. He speak the unreasonable, disconnect from the discourse, and immoderate, not without any limits. The commentary gives the example of the monk who speak the Dhamma talk, who give the Dhamma talk. If he a good moderate monk who speak Dhamma talk, he should base on the discourse, based on the story of Jataka, for example, to give the devotee the idea to practice, rather than just take the orders outside story and talk and go further than the goal of the Buddhism. You know what I mean? So, and the last one is unbeneficial, so it does not bring any benefit. So that is called the unworthy speech. I use the picture, the phone, the girl talk on the phone. I think nowadays we often fall into that unworthy speech. Sometimes we just talk to spend time and nothing left. So the Buddha not encourage such talk. It's not good for us, actually. Next one, that is the four. The first three is concerned bodily. The other four is for the speech, And the last three is the concern the thought and mind, the mental. So the first one is someone who's covetous, really greedy. Okay, that person think that this is the wealth and property of others, and that person always look at that and that should be mine, that will be mine. That's called really greedy, and the action is just looking at that is not called covetousness yet, but after he think that this will be mine, he have a plan to take it. So that is called covetousness. And when he take it, it fall into stealing. You got it, okay? So the second one is the mind of ill will. So that person have the intention of hate and ill will in his mind. May this person, may this feeling be killed, be murdered, be executed, be punished, be destroyed, be perished, be annihilated by the angry mind. Sometimes you will see that happen in our life too. Sometimes that person make us suffer, and we wish that person disappear. So that can be called that is considered as malevolence, ill will. The last one is michariti, wrong view. Wrong view here refer to the unwholesome vision, the distorted vision, not the correct vision. Okay. So he thinks that there's nothing called given, nothing called dana, because he reject the result of giving. He reject the result of offering, of sacrificing. He reject that there are no fruit or only result of good and bad action. There's no result of them. That is wrong view. Because he reject the wholesome and unwholesome. There's nothing wholesome and unwholesome. And he think that there's no this word, there's no the other word. Means they just disappear. It's just like a bubble, just appear and disappear totally after that. So that is kind of wrong view. There's no person reborn spontaneously. And they don't believe in this line afterlife. So they just so they don't believe in the person who reborn spontaneously. There are no good and virtual person in the world who realize the direct knowledge and declare this word and the other word. So whoever realized this word about this word and the other word, we wish them. So that person would make clear that there's no non-becoming of the Buddha. They believe that there should be the Buddha in this world to show us the correct way. So if the person who don't believe in that, we consider as a person who has wrong view. So among these, I just try to give you the definition of this kind of action, these 10 kind of action, bodily, speech, and mind action. It's quite difficult for us to understand all of them if we just say it in brief. For example, the first one, mostly we just talk about killing in the first precept of the devotee, but beside killing, hitting other person also can be considered as unwholesome action, or stealing other property, but stealing secretly also can be considered as another stealing. You talk nonsense, you talk useless talk, unworthy stuff, but it's become a habit nowadays just to spend time. But actually, it's not good for our practice too. Sometimes you cannot control yourself. You speak harshly to other person, hurt other feeling, and that also bad for your meditation too. And should not keep that in yourself. So um, lately, you will think about this thing and try to apply to your life. And before we do any action, should be considered carefully. Is it a wholesome one or an unwholesome one? Is it bring benefits for us or others, or bring suffering for us and order? If it increase more wholesome, so it's a good one. Decrease unwholesome is a good one. But if it increase more unwholesome state of mind, so that is not a good action to continue to do it. And never ever do the evil deed, the unwholesome deed, if you want to face the suffering. So I quote the one thing of the Buddha in the Udana. If you should do any bad deed now or in the future, you won't be free from suffering, though you fly away, flee. Though you try to escape from it, but it will follow you this life after another. Never ever follow the step of one. There was one story in Jataka. I think it's more interesting for you to think about. It talks about the story of a person called Losakatissa. So he was born in a fisherman village, consists of 1,000 family of Kosala kingdom. And since the day the mother get pregnant, the whole village cannot catch any fish. They are fishermen, 1,000 family, but since the mother of that boy get pregnant, there's nobody can catch any fish. And 7 times they got fire burn in the village. 7 times they get punishment from the king. And they feel, oh, it's not right. Something not right. So we should know who is the unfortunate one. So they try to divide into 2 groups, 500 and another 500. And then the one group back to normal. Another group still the same. So they try to divide again and again and again until they find out the family of the mother who just got pregnant. Okay, then they find out and they chase that family away. So the mother, after giving birth to a little boy, she tried to grow it up for a little, teach it how to go begging and run away. And that boy growing up without taking care of anyone. He doesn't know how to take care of himself and don't know how to go to bath himself and take whatever the food left over the people throw away. And he tried to survive. One day, Venerable Sariputta, he's the chief disciple of the Buddha. So he saw that little boy really suffering, really poor like that. So he come and asked, oh, little boy, do your parents around here? Where do you live? And the boy said, no, sir, my parents ran away from me, and I have no way to live, no place to live. I just run here and there. So Venerable Sariputta said that if you want to be ordained as a novice monk, so you can come with me. So the boy said, who will ordain me? I'm the misfortunate one. Nobody wants me. But Venerable Sariputta said, okay, you go with me to the temple. And after that, Venerable Sariputta took care of him, showed him how to bath, and gave him some food. And lately, he ordained, at that time, he was 7 years old. He ordained as a Samanera, what we call novice monk. And when he reached 20, he ordained as a bhikkhu, a fully ordained monk. And even he ordained and he tried hard in his monkhood, but he's still a misfortunate one. The story tells that one day, sometimes he go for alms. You know, monks we go for alms in the boat, and the people they just give him one spoon of porridge, and after that they look at, oh, it's full already, so they stop giving him, even if it's not full. You know what I mean? And then somebody like waiting to give him some porridge, but at that moment he just go past by the donor, the bottle of porridge sometimes like disappear, and they cannot offer him. So in that way, and he just have enough food to eat to survive. Okay? But he don't give up. He doesn't give up. He tried hard in his practice, and one day he attended arhatship. But it's still the same. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So Venerable Sariputta, one day, so Venerable Sariputta knows that this time is his last day, because the arahants, when the person who attend arahantship, after this life, there's no more life for them. We call demise or nibbana. So Venerable Sariputta knows that this is the last day for him. So he tried to took his disciple to go house round with him. But it also affects Venerable Sariputta. They went to the big city, but they cannot get even the more porridge. So Venerable Sariputta said, okay, you go back and wait for me. I will send food for you. And then he go for alms and Venerable Sariputta get food, ask someone to bring back home, bring back to the temple for the young monk. But the person who bring back, they forget, and they eat whole. So when Venerable Sariputta come back to look after his disciple, he asked, did you have lunch? No, I didn't. Nobody prayed for me. So, and at that time it's over the noon. You know, the monk eat before the noon. So after that, we don't eat anymore. So the Venerable Sariputta try one more time. He go to the king palace. So the king, when he saw Venerable Sariputta come, he offers some kind of sweet. We call it Chatumadura. It's 4 kind of sweet, like ghee, like butter, in ancient India. And then Venerable Sariputta bring back to him, and he hold the bowl for him. He asked, okay, now you can eat. I will hold the bowl. But the young man said, afraid that his teacher hold the bowl for him, so he's afraid to eat. He said, okay, you eat. If I leave the bowl, the food might not be there anymore. So with the power of the Venerable Sariputta, he ate for food once in a lifetime. And then after that, he demised Nibbana. And the people inscribed his relic. So after he passed away, demised Nibbana, the monk gathered together and suspect he's just a misfortune person. But how can he attend arhatship, become a noble person, and demise Nibbana in that way? So the Buddha tell previous story. So long time ago, during the time of the Kassapa Buddha, means the Buddha previously from our Buddha. Although there's a monk in a small village, he's a good monk, good behavior, moral monk, practice and meditation too. So one time, a guest monk came, and in that village, there's a devotee, one man, take care of the temple. So when that man saw a guest monk come, he invites that monk come and offer food and listen to the Dhamma talk. then show him the way to go to the monastery. The resident monk who saw one monk come also asked where you come from, did you have lunch? And knowing that the man already took care of him. And in the evening, the man also come to the village, come to the temple to offer oil for the light and offer some flower and also invite the guest monk to have them a talk. And since that time, the resident monk feel uneasy, worried that the man will take care of the guest monk more than him, like kind of jealousy, and not so happy. He just give him money, he didn't say anything, just give him money. But in the morning, and before the monk, before the man come back to his house, he invites them to go for lunch for tomorrow. So in the morning, the resident monk, he used his back of the finger to hit the gong and use the nail to knock the door, just to call the guest monk to come in that way. And when he come to receive food at the man's house, the man said asked him that, where's the guest monk? He said that maybe he's still sleeping. I knocked the door and called him, but yesterday maybe he enjoyed good food, so he cannot wake up early. But the man still offer him good food and offer extra to bring back to the house, to the temple. On the way back, he think, if I give it to someone to bring back for him, so everybody will know what I'm doing. If I bring food back to him, so he enjoy good food, he will never leave this place. If I throw on the ground, the crowd will come and eat it, and everybody will know. If I throw it in the water, the butter will float, and everybody will know. So what should I do? So on the way go back, he saw a few burning field. After they harvest, they burn the field, and he threw the food in the burning field and tried to cover with charcoal. And then on the way go back, he didn't see the guest monk anymore. He disappeared. And at that moment, he think back, wow, he should be a noble person, an arahant, and he know what I think in my mind. So that's he left. And it's true. That guest monk is an arahant, and he know that this monk doesn't like him at all. So he left in the morning. And after knowing that he did a very terrible deed because of his stomach, so he's really sad, and he for whole his life living suffering. From a person moral person who practiced the Insight meditation well, is a good monk, he good behavior monk too, but because he did not see what he do, so he changed totally and did very terrible deeds. After suffering from that life, after that he was born in hell to pay back for his terrible deed, and 500 existence as a dog, 500 existence as the yakka demon, and in their life he never feel full, just for her whole life, just for one day only. And after that he was born back as a human being, but still get a lot of suffering until his last life via Santivana.
Sorry, these are for you.
So from the story of Santivana, we should think carefully before we do any action, even just in our mind. Because if we not carefully from our mind, it will grow up a little bit by little bit, and it come to our mouth or come to our body. Just like this monk, he used to be a good monk too. His moral monk, he practiced meditation too, but he changed just because of jealousy. If you think that this story is just a story from the time of Buddha, so you might wrong, because I used to be a victim in this story. But luckily for that person, I'm not a arahant, so that result might not be like that. But I experienced in the story. So this story can be true if we don't practice well, we don't look at our mind well, look at our action well before we do anything. So just to share with you today's lesson that we should take care of our mind before we do any kind of action. If it's just evil mind, an unwholesome thought, so try to remove it as much as you can. Don't let it come out to your mouth, hurt other person, hurt yourself, or come to the body in action. So thank you for listening.
Okay, so now is the part of discussion. So, right here. Okay. Okay, so before we start having questions, I just want to make a few comments to this teaching story. Monk Hieu just mentioned about the resident monk. He practiced insight meditation, but he still have this evil mind. So one wonders how can a person who practiced insight meditation could have done such an unwholesome act. So basically, before we attain Ariyaka noblehood, we still have a lot of defilement. The practice is helping us to, gradually eliminate the defilements. But if we are not careful, the defilement will resume its strength and populate just like a yard still has some weed. Just like the weed has not completely removed, all the way to the root. If we don't take care of the yard well, we don't regularly weed it, eventually it will take over and grow everything back until you completely dig it and remove the root altogether. So as a practitioner, we practice insight meditation, but we should continue to guard our mind and be able to detect soon enough before it's manifest through speech or bodily action. Then one day, when we skillful enough, we completely cut out part of the poison, the greed, anger, the delusion. Then it be completely safe. Until then, we continue to guard our mind as closest as possible. So in this case, this monk, he practiced insight meditation. He's a good monk, but he kind of not so well guard his mind. He allowed this unwholesome thought, pop up in his mind, and then it consume him and lead him to do such an unwholesome act. Even though it seemed like a small thing, but he ended up paying the greatest price. He actually committed an unwholesome act on an arahant, and that's a very big price to pay. If he acted on a regular monk, then the price is not that great. But then again, how can you tell this monk or this person is a noble person? Sometimes they just look normal, right? So best that you should not commit wholesome act at all. That's to be the safest one. You cannot go around and ask, are you an arahant? Are you a noble person? Are you this? Are you that? Then avoid them. You cannot. So as on course, the Buddha always encourages us that guard our mind, practice accordingly, guard our mind, and avoid as much as possible. Even to an animal, even though the animal doesn't, commit unwholesome act on an animal, doesn't do as great as you do it on a person, a human. But you shouldn't allow yourself to do unwholesome act on the animal either. So that's the best way, the safest way that we should stay away from all the future suffering that we have to face in this case. So so that's one thing that we should learn. As you were saying that if I knew, I wouldn't do it. But how do you know, right? Okay. So back to the previous slide about the covetousness, about the thinking mind. A lot of people, when they do something, sometimes they know it's unwholesome, but they try to deny the fact, or they try to fool themselves. They say, "Oh, I do it for the good cause. I do this because I want to help other people." So they kind of cover up the unwholesome act and proceed anyway out of greed, anger, and illusion. For example, you think that you would help someone. You think that, oh, I do a good thing. I help this person to be, to get them out of poverty. But then again, in the act, you get a lot of benefit from it. You deny the fact. Let's say that this person, he presents himself as a moral person to everyone, that he's a good helper. He reached out to help people, in the bad situation. So he does that, but behind the scene, he make a lot of profit out of it. So if you really help someone and gain a lot of benefit, then are you really help someone? I mean, in terms of making money or make yourself, get wealth from it. And then other people can suffer from the, before you help them, they have to pay a big price. So a lot of people have done that, and it's called covetousness. So that's why when we do something, we have to look into it and see, you help this person, but at the same time, do you keep your morality or not? You have to really look into it. Don't deny the fact. Don't cover up your action by something that you think is great. Okay? That's very dangerous. And small little things like this, you have to pay a big price. In this case, just more like in the story that we just tell you, it seemed like small thing, but he ended up paying life after life for the unwholesome act that he committed. He not only was born in hell for the unwholesome act, when he reborn an animal or I think he continued to face hunger, like starvation, because he could not get any food and nobody helped him. To the last day, to the last life that he practiced and attained arahantship, but he still have to face, not having food at all. Just for one small act that he did, that was a small act like that. So don't underestimate the power of the unwholesome act. Okay? So now we open for questions. So anyone? Okay, go ahead.
I didn't really understand the wrong view that well. Can you give some more examples of it?
Okay. Wrong view is someone who has a distorted thinking. He think, let's say that one thing people didn't think that there's no after, there's no effect in the act. When someone do something, there's no result, happy or unhappy result. He doesn't believe that there's a rebirth after, the life after this life. I'm not talking about the underworld or anything. I'm talking about, the cycle of rebirth. Okay, he doesn't believe in. He believed like at the end of this life, at the end of it, there's no continuum, and he didn't believe that goodness yield good result or generosity yield, like gain property or anything in that process. Okay, he has a distorted view. He believes that uh, there's a person, there's a soul, and the soul control, the action. And when I die, when my body break down, but my soul live on and move to a different body, continue like that. So that's called wrong view. And because of wrong view, you commit unwholesome act. And the wholesome act yield unwholesome result, which is suffering. And then you continue again and again. Okay. Yeah. One thing I want to point out about the lying part. A lot of people, before I say this, do you believe there's a white lies? White lie. White lie. Like you think that you say something untrue but to help someone. Let's say, for example, one person who's facing terminal illness, and the relative, doesn't want the patient to be afraid and scared, and told him, no, you don't have terminal illness. You're gonna live to 100 years old. But actually, he can only live for 6 months. So you try to comfort him by not telling the truth. So you think that, oh, I did, I think I'm helping him, rather than make him feel negative, make him pessimistic about this situation. So you make it up something that make him believe that he'll be okay, he's gonna live forever, thing like that. So that's called white lie, right? But then again, people are saying that, that doesn't hurt anybody. But how do you know it doesn't hurt anybody? What if the patient realized that he only has 6 months left? He could have done a whole lot more within that 6 months before he died. But because you fooled him that he lived for 200 years, so he kind of procrastinated. And then find out that tomorrow he has to leave. He would be upsetting. So who are you to say that it's good for him? So, but you don't want to tell as it is that would actually shock him or whatever. So my point here, you have to find a skillful way, a clever way to tell him without shocking, without him shocking you. Or another question, another thing that we have one devotee. He's married and he practiced keeping 5 precepts, and one of the precepts is not telling false. And he said, my wife very conscious about her weight, and she often asks me, "Do you think I'm fat?" And he said, "Well, actually, she's been gaining weight, but I love her. I don't want to hurt her by telling, yeah, you gain weight. Let me get back." So how should I say it without hurting her feeling at the same time breaking my precept? So I told him that, well, you got to be clever, skillful of telling her something that doesn't hurt her feeling at the same time break the precept. You have to figure it out. But don't do like other people saying, no, you're beautiful, you're not getting weight, but in your mind, yeah, you get weight. You know what I mean? So you gotta be clever and be skillful in that sense. And even though the white lies seem to be harmless, but it opens up a new door for you to speak falsely. And if you can do this, then later on you speak a little bit more and a little more. Before you know it, you speak falsely all the time. Like crying food, for example, just for fun, didn't hurt anybody, right? But end up, but nobody believed him anymore, and he got in trouble. Okay. One more thing about the killing part. He's saying that, well, I don't kill, but sometimes I hit, like torture or do something, for example, one of my nephews, he loved fishing, right? And he once he came to the temple and he realized that fishing is killing, which is the precept that as a Buddhist should avoid. So he asked me, Uncle, if I'm to fish, but then again, I'll take the fish on and cook it. I just throw it back in the ocean. So will I still be killing a living being? They said, well, if the fish didn't die, then you don't commit killing a living being, but you committed torturing a living being. And you wonder, how did I didn't hit the fish. I said, well, the moment the hook got into the fish, and then you drag it up out the wind, out the water, you hurt the fish. He said, yeah, okay. So you hurt the fish. And he said, so what is the consequence for that? Because killing a living being, the consequence you face is shortage of your life. Like some people die in the womb, some people die after a few years out the womb, or somebody gets short in their life, didn't live a full life. So that's the consequence of killing the living being. So what consequence do I get for hurt the living being? They say, well, depends. Sometimes people born, they have a long life, but they sick all the time. They get hurt all the time. Chronic pain here and there. They don't find a lot of pleasure in the body. So that's the result of people torturing a living being. I see a lot of people didn't kill, but they did animal or kick and all that kind of thing for pleasure, right? Even when they get angry. So that's the thing that we need to take into the consideration. And then, what if I don't kill, but I tell someone else to do it? Let's say that one lady, she's a Buddhist. She says she claims herself a Buddhist. She likes to eat live crab, right? In Asia, they believe that crab that is still alive tastes better than is frozen. So she said, "Oh, I'm a Buddhist. I don't want to cook live crab." So I told my husband to cook it for me. And will I still consider killing? I say, in a way, yes. You are partaking the action of killing because you really want that crab to die so that you eat the meat. So you didn't kill, but you help others. So in a way, you indirectly partake the action, the result of the action as well. Okay, so for the precept of not killing, you don't do it yourself. You don't tell others to do it. Yeah, unless you come across meat, something that already done, the killing already done. You just saw it, and you're okay to take because at that time that's not a living being anymore. It's just material. Okay, yeah. So any question? I'm very happy if you raise questions, so I can continue to talk and we can learn something today. Don't wait the trick here. Go ahead, don't be shy. So, if you don't ask, I continue to talk until we finish the session. Okay, so anyone told me, for the 10 unwholesome act, what result would that be? How about hostage? What result would that be? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Pierced by thorns.
Say it again.
Pierced by thorns.
Pierced by the thorn?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it hurts like that. That's okay. At this present moment, when you hear someone who give us harsh treatment, we feel very painful, like going to our flesh. But worse is he mentioned it like the hook, the fishing hook. It goes through your flesh, but then again it's stuck in it. It's worse than just be punching one time. Just be hooked and then you pull it. You cannot get the hook out. So what he meant is the word, even though the word already did say, but it stayed with you for a long time. It continued to hurt you. A lot of people, some girl who've been called like that, and she got traumatized by saying that. She started starving herself until she only skin and bone and die because every time she looked at herself in the mirror and she kept thinking she's happy, even though she's just bone and skin. You see, just one thing you might, just individually make a comment like that to a girl who's self-conscious about her weight. You brought her to death because the thing you say like that, and you forgot about it. But then again, the person who listened it, they be impaired for the rest of their life, like that. So it's very, very dangerous. But the one who very angry, very talk speech, they don't look good at all. Because when you tell me that they look exactly when they're angry, they don't look good. And also, according to the doctrine that the person reborn with an angry mind doesn't have a beautiful complexion. Not mention about the toxic that released from being angry, from the anger that killed the body. And people kind of be drawn away from you. Vice versa with loving kind and loving speech. You attract people. You have beautiful complexion. You reborn with a very compassionate, loving person that people like to be around you. Anything else? Anyone? How about you? Hi, Belinda. I know you practice a lot, but you're too shy to speak.
I wanted to talk or ask more about the lying thing, especially with the case of the doctor, because whenever I think of unwholesome actions, I think of whether you have the intent to commit that unwholesome action. I know that intention is a huge part in Buddhism. So I was thinking of one story in Buddhism where an example of a mother trying to save their children from like a burning house, but they wouldn't come out. So she made up a lie where basically saying if they come out, then she would like give them like elephants or something like that along those lines. And I think the result of that, or like the moral of that, was that in that case the lie was to save her children and that it was okay. So in your example of the doctor, what if his intention really okay, it doesn't really apply to that situation, but in another hypothetical situation, what if you do say a lie to save someone? Would that be okay? Because the intent is wholesome, but the action itself is not really wholesome.
Well, that's a controversial. Even though the act of saving someone with the intention, that's one act. The act of lying, that's another act. You got me? So whatever the act has its own consequence. Okay, just go back to the. Let's put it this way. It's easy to understand. You heard the story, whether it's a myth or not, about Robin Hood, right? He steals from the rich and he gave it to the poor, right? So a lot of people say, well, that's a moral. That's called the good cause. Stealing is a good cause. Stealing for a good cause, right? But would that be, would it be okay? He didn't commit any wrongdoing. In fact, if you talk about bad karma, bad result in this, he might come out, with a profit, right? Because he steal it from the rich who doesn't really need that much of property, and then he give it to people who really need the thing to survive, like food and things like that. So if you put it all together, you add it all up and subtract it, and he still come out better, right? Well, the act of stealing, that's one act. The act of helping other people to release them from distress, that's another act. So each act has a consequence. But you never know. What if you steal from the rich? That's something that's so sentimental to them, even though they're very rich. But a regular casual spoon or whatever, that think that just a regular spoon, to them they eat like silver spoon or gold spoon, but this one is just aluminum spoon, and you think, well, aluminum spoon compared to that is like nothing. But what if that aluminum spoon is sentimental to this rich family? what if because of that spoon that he got himself rich? So he valued this spoon more than the silver or the gold. And you inevitably presume that this one is not so valuable compared to the wealth. It's right? It's nothing. It's still it. And the rich person would be heartbroken. Or it could be something that pass it on. It's a temporary hero. You don't know, right? And that is the consequence that you pay daily for that. So you have to pay for the part that you steal. But on the other hand, you help other people relieve from the hunger. That's another act. So go back to the question about the doctor who died to save people. That saving people out of goodness of things, but he opened up another door of not telling the truth. And if you allow yourself to compromise your morality, your integrity, then you can go further. This lie can lead to another lie. Because the moment you break your standard, you no longer have it anymore. Even though start out like this like minimal. Okay? That's what the Buddha mentioned it. Actually, he did mention that if you don't tell the truth, if you lie, there's no other conclusion that you don't commit. So a lot of time we get caught into a situation that if we tell the truth, you could hurt other people. So that's why the skillful, the cleverness you step in. You can still maintain your morality at the same time, help other people. There's so many ways if you really find it. Okay, don't just resort to easy way out and say, oh, I do it for a good cause. A lot of people are saying that, like one time I met one Korean monk, he talked about in the old day that people are allowed to kill for the good cause. And I say, no, killing is killing. Good cause is good for something, but there's no killing for good cause because it leads to suffering one way or the other. So you gotta figure out how to do it. Go back to the thing you mentioned about the mother wanted to save her children from the firing house by lying to, not lying, but tell them to give them something like a promise. Well, you gotta figure it out. You need to reward. I need to say what you do, right? You get out, I give you $100. Then when they get out, you gotta find out $100. Or you say, oh, at the moment, you have to acknowledge what you promised and ask them, oh, maybe right now I don't have money anymore or anything. I will do something. Try to say something. Just don't ignore it. And the kid, they will remember, right? When you promise this is important to them, they will remember, and they will think that you lie, right? And you mentioned about the intention. Yes, Buddhism cares a lot about the intention. The intention that actually create the act, right? And the act leads to consequence. So a lot of time, if you don't mean it, you unintentionally did something, then you have to be examined. If it's truly so, then it doesn't really count. Like you accidentally step on a beam and you die, then that wouldn't call as a human act. So one time I was driving and I saw a squirrel, running across the street. I tried to avoid it, but somehow the squirrel ran and then it came back. And it ran into my car, and at that moment the wheel rolling and it drove over the squirrel. So I asked myself, did I intentionally try to find a way to kill the squirrel? No. It just ran to it and the wheel just run over it. I couldn't break it. I didn't break it. So that wouldn't consider killing a living being. The intention is the main role in this. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. And I would like to invite Matthew Berry. He's a practitioner at our temple for 5 years now, ever since we established. And he would like to share his experience and encourage young people to pick up the practice. So I hand my microphone. I almost forgot about it. Okay. This right here. This is good. You can all hear me like this. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. So I've been practicing meditation through Vipassana meditation for about 5 years. Meditation has totally changed the trajectory of my life in many ways in terms of how I live. Not just during meditation, but how does it affect your life and every moment of your life? How do you bring that awareness that meditation brings? How does this practically affect how we deal with our life? Not just when we're sitting in meditation, but when we're dealing with friends and family, in our jobs, and our day-to-day struggles and experiences. None of us are totally free from these 10 things. We all experience these. And as we're going through them, I'm sure different things come up within us that we resonate with. Yes, I've done this. Yes, I've done this. We have this. Different, things that come up. So how do we use the remembrance of we know we've done wrong to enhance our practice so we don't repeat the same things over and over? And through meditation and cultivating the awareness of knowing better so we can change when those same habits, those same defilements present themselves again as they do. How can we flip the switch subtly? And how do we continue to not give up even though we might fail over and over? Because we all know the experience of failure. But through the practice, through understanding, and through the contrast of experiencing for ourselves the suffering that comes out of defiling behavior, then we come to see the truth of the teachings, and we come to see the benefit of acting in the correct way. And especially through the practice of meditation, bringing the awareness to ourselves creates just so much more clarity in our lives that carries out throughout our day, how we deal with other people. And you can find ways to become more skillful in your actions and your behavior to other people so that you can actually bring more happiness to other people, to our families, to our friends. When you're presented with challenges that it might be easy, it's not the right thing. Maybe other people around us are tempting us into the wrong things. You develop that ability, like the skillful ability. You can say no, but you don't have to be harsh. You don't have to be rude. You can find the skillful mean to do the right thing, and at the same time, you find a way to be kind. I think that's a very important thing, because it's not like we're just going to flip the switch and just be free from all this defilements in a single moment. It's like every day is our chance to practice. That's why we have all these struggles in our life, because that's our chance to practice. It's not that easy. And it's not like wishful thinking. We have to apply it. Otherwise, what's the point? We can hear the teaching and we say, yeah, that's it. And then we just go back and keep doing the same things we were doing, we've always been doing. So to bring this back to meditation, because I think that it's important for all of us, we can bring 5 minutes, or just whenever you have a chance, instead of, scrolling on your phone, you've got nothing to do for 5 minutes or whatever. Take a minute out of your day to sit quietly and just be with yourself. Sit in meditation. Find a little bit of time, because there's so much
joy to be found in that meditation and through the clarity and through seeing that in yourself. That we've really lost touch with that. A lot of people have, and it's very easy to miss out on so much that is within us, right where we are. All the joy, all these teachings. Where did it come out of? The Buddha looked within himself, and he was just finding the clarity, that knowledge and understanding was within himself because it's the teaching. So the more we come to see this within ourselves, the more we will naturally start to understand ourselves and understand how these things work with the benefit of having the teachings. So I just want to encourage that all of us find some time to sit with ourselves and not run away from our own self in a lot of ways. And that the more we learn to sit in meditation, even if you're just waiting or you're sitting waiting for whatever, or you just have a minute to just sit quietly, we miss out the benefit of that. Just to let your mind wind out a little bit, just sit and listen to yourself, don't judge yourself, but just listen to your thoughts. Sometimes we have this constant need for stimulation. I think we all live in this fast-paced world today, where it's constant stimulation. We always need to be feeding on some information or feeding on something, and we forget ourselves. So that's really all I want to share, is just that we don't allow the thoughts that tell us that there's nothing here to be found to distract us from not looking. Because sometimes it's so easy that thought will be like, oh, you don't want to sit for a second, it's like there's nothing there, it's just empty. We run away from that emptiness within ourselves. We don't understand that the emptiness within ourselves has so much to offer us. So I'll just, that's just it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Matthew, for sharing. So basically, the meditation is not difficult at all. The difficult part is be persistent and consistent. And if you don't have that, if you omit that, then you go nowhere. You don't learn anything. It would be the same. It would be the same as you read a book, but you are not keep up with it. You just read a few words and then you wander off, and then you come back and you read a few words again, and then you wander off. Then you keep doing that, then you won't see the story. You understand the story, right? So meditation requires a lot of consistency, persistency, and vipassana is not something that is so hard. It's just sit still, follow your breathing, establish. I think there's some over here. Right here. It's okay. So a lot of people came to the temple and they thought meditation is something that's so magical, until they find out that they just sit, follow your in breath and out breath, and not to follow the storyline when you have a running thought, or not to analyze the object, like the sound to the ear and things like that. Sound is so boring, right? But if you keep doing it and with the right instruction, you will learn so much about your mind and body that people tend to resentful when they have unpleasant feeling on the body, then they have suffering, or they will attach to the pleasant feeling on the body that lead to disappointment, then the pleasant wear off. And that's all the suffering step in. They see the suffering, but they don't see the cause of it. And meditation will point out the cause. And when you see the cause, you will avoid it. That's the whole point of the meditation as a short benefit. But in the long term, you eventually be free from all kind of wrong view that you just passed, right? And you think that part of the wrong view to think that pleasant feeling is permanent until you find out that it's not, then you suffer from it. But the Buddha taught us that you acknowledge the impermanence and understand and accept it, and then you will find peace in your mind. Okay? So that's why it's need persistence and consistency. Okay, so that's any question about meditation? Okay. What? You have this. You have. Okay. I got another person. If not, we can hurry up early. Okay. So if you have no more questions, then we can wrap it up. So let's see. Okay. Before we wrap it up, we would like to do the metta chanting, which we call the cultivating loving kindness. We wish everyone to be free from all kind of suffering and free from all animosity to from ourselves and others. So.
Angaveromi, Avyavashomi, Anigomi, Sukhyatana, Variharami, Mama Matapitu, Achariyasha, Nyatimetasha, Sabrahmacharinosha, Avera Honju, Avyapasha Honju, Aniga Honju, Sukhiyatana, Variharantu, Imasmin Arame, Sabe Bhikkhu, Samane Raja, Upasaka Upasika Yosha, Amagancha Dupachaya Jayaka, Avera Honju, Avyapasha Honju, Aniga Honju, Sukhiyatana, Variharantu, Amagangaraka Devata, Imasmin Vihare, Imasmin Avase, Imasmin Arame, Avera Honju, Avyapasha Honju, Aniga Honju, Sukhiyatana, Variharantu, Sabbe Sata, Sabbe Vana, Sabbe Buddha, Sabbe Bukala, Sabbe Atta Bhava Pariyapana, Sabbe Itiyo, Sabbe Purisa, Sabbe Ariya, Sabbe Anariya, Sabbe Deva, Sabbe Manusa, Sabbe Vidipatiga, Avera Honju, Avyapasha Honju, Aniga Honju, Sukhiyatana, Variharantu, Dukkha Mushantu, Yatalada Sabbatitu, Mavigashantu, Kamasaka. Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titaju Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titaju Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titaju Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu.
I would like to express my gratitude and privilege to for all of you to come here and listen to the Dhamma talk and allow us to come here to talk. So I hope with this teaching today will give you some insight in how we do, in what we do in everyday life, and also check your mind. Always constantly check your mind to verify what state of mind that is in when you make an action. And remember, every action has its consequence. And wholesome will lead to wholesome result, and wholesome will lead to suffering. So whether you're happy or not is in your hand and if you're making. So think carefully before you do something. Okay, and wish you all to be well and happy and peaceful in the Buddha teaching. Okay, and thank you, the organizer, to have this lunch and this talk, and thank you all for the support.